Hi, everyone. Welcome to SBR Sports Picks. My name is Peter Loshak. This is the daily MLB show, or the daily live show we do at 10:30 Eastern Time, where I give my official MLB picks. Matty, guys, I'm feeling pretty good today. You know, yesterday it was kind of a fun show. It was kind of funny, but most importantly, the main reason I'm feeling okay today is, why is that, Matty Ice?
Low-hanging fruit.
Low-hanging fruit cash, baby. Winning day yesterday, and the advice was good, although once again, I pussied out on some of my advice. I knew Ross was majorly vulnerable. I should have had Toronto 3 different ways on the team total over, on the first 5 innings over. I did mention on the show, just didn't have the balls to pull it. And then I pulled the trigger on, and then I made some, just kind of, what the hell was I doing fucking around with the Pittsburgh and the Milwaukee over and all that crap. But overall, it was still a profitable day, 4-3, and most importantly, the low-hanging fruit cashed relatively easily. So overall, it was a pretty good day. All right. Ernest Tuffman says he hit his banana yesterday, Minnesota, and low-hanging fruit parlay. Nice. Oh wow! So he must have taken the Cleveland line and Minnesota. Very nice, Ernest Tuffman. Yeah, the low-hanging fruit. It just felt like Cleveland was low-hanging fruit all series long, and maybe they are today, because we have, once again, now it's Clevenger against Miley. We'll get to that in a second. But okay, here we go. Here we go. Right off the bat, we have a comment from Wang Zhou. I want to bet Dodger today, but why? Why? They are change Wood to Ryu. Well, Ryu's not that. Wood's better. Wood's better.
Wood is better. Ryu's good, though.
Yeah.
Very good.
Definitely. All right. So congratulations. Everyone feels like people in general did pretty well yesterday overall. Definitely the Seattle game was also a nice winner for us. All right. So let's look at whenever we have a good day and the picks were okay and the advice was good, I'm always happy to get right into the card on Thursday. It's a small card, a lot of interesting stuff. The first few things that caught my eye on the opening lines. Let's see. Well, the first one was, I was surprised by St. Louis being a relatively small favorite against Philadelphia. Martinez, of course, is great. Nola is definitely struggling, definitely has big upside. I mean, if Nola comes in and throws 7 innings and gives up 1 run, that would not be a surprise. But in general, I have Martinez as a notch better. Oh, and by the way, did you see Pivetta yesterday? Didn't have a shutout, but had 10 strikeouts. And
I did not see that.
Oh, yeah.
What I did see was Max Scherzer almost throw a no-hitter and then still somehow lose.
Yep. Well, and that was because, and actually our commenters mentioned it, people were suggesting that Washington yesterday might be a great play with Max Scherzer starting. And I said, at first glance, it does seem good, but Washington might be resting people, which is always possibly the case with some of these early starts. It did turn out to be the case. They were resting 2 big guys. I forgot exactly who it was. I think it might have been Zimmerman or Murphy or someone, but they also mentioned that in the comments, and we did, in fact, see what happened. So the people in the comments were keeping up on that. Washington were resting big guys, and it turned out to be that Scherzer as a road favorite was not a good play. So once again, we have 6 early games today. Any of these games could have lineup shenanigans, right? So you want to be very careful. St. Louis, Philly, definitely in the Toronto-Texas game at 2 o'clock. That could, Eastern time, that could be easily a game where there's some surprise guys sitting. Definitely in the Pittsburgh-Milwaukee game, and of course the Arizona-Colorado game. So with all those early games, I might give picks on them anyway, but you have to be careful. Take them with a little bit of an eye towards who's going to be in the lineup and who might be sitting. But my first thoughts were St. Louis was a little bit too low of a favorite there, considering the starting pitching matchup. Then also in the next game, we have White Sox and Minnesota, and the White Sox, of course, crush lefties. They're actually the top team. You don't think of them as this huge offense, but they're the top team in baseball against lefties. Better than the Dodgers, better than the Nats, better than everyone you can think of. The White Sox are the top team in baseball against lefties. And Turley, an interesting guy, right? He's an older rookie who was mediocre in the minors, but recently had some big strikeout numbers in the minors, but his major league starts, he's gotten some strikeouts in the majors too, but he's given up a bunch of runs. So it feels like a good spot to take the White Sox as just a small road favorite. Now, Quintana has been very, very much underachieving this year relative to what he's been in past years. The question is, well, he's been a little bit better recently, but still vulnerable. So, he could easily get hit here. So I'd be leaning towards the over and still leaning towards White Sox as a small favorite in that spot. And then the Toronto-Texas game, I was definitely looking towards the over. Stroman is a guy who obviously is great, but look into it a little deeper. When he goes on the road in hitter-friendly parks, he can be prone to giving up home runs. His last start, he gave up 3 home runs. He had a start, I think, in Milwaukee this year where he gave up a bunch of home runs. And then there was another start where he was on the road against, in a hitter-friendly park, and he gave up a bunch of home runs. So Stroman might have, a decent start here, but again, give up a couple home runs. Perez on the other side obviously is a guy who can be very vulnerable, so I was leaning over on that one. And the first 5 over, the Milwaukee-Pittsburgh game is an interesting one. I was thinking about Milwaukee. It was a surprisingly low opening line as far as I was concerned with Anderson starting. He's been obviously great recently, and that line has gotten bet up a little bit. And then the other game that's interesting is just the Angels against the Yankees. Now, when the line came out with Pineda, I as such a massive favorite, well, of course, I said in that show, Matty Ice, well, if that's the line for Pineda against Bridwell, what the hell is the line going to be with Chavez against Severino?
Because I would say something like minus
yes.
300.
But it's actually a little bit lower than the Pineda line. It's still a massive line in the minus 230s. Severino has obviously been awesome, but he has struggled in his last. He did struggle a bit in his last start. Still going to be awesome. And Chavez, of course, very, very, very vulnerable on the road. The Yankees mash righties, and feels like it's going to be a big day for the Yankees here. Now, interestingly, Pinnacle has the team total over for the Yankees at 5.5 minus 112, but a couple of more rec books have it down at 5. Heritage right now has 5 minus 125 on the Yankees team total over. So that one right there, that's a pick for me.
That sounds nice. I like that.
Yankees team total over 5 minus 125. I'd also be leaning just to the full game over at 9 minus 103 or 9 minus a couple places. I'm not exactly sure why this total has gotten bet kind of significantly down. It opened up at 9.5, which made sense to me. I was still liking it on the over there. Now it's gotten bet significantly down market wide. If you want 9, you can get 9 minus 105 or plus 100 at 5 times. Is someone out for the Yankees, or why do you think? I mean, obviously Severino's great.
Yes.
Struggled in his last start a little bit, but I could easily see this one being like last night, where Severino gives up 1 or 2 runs, the Yankees put up 8 or 9, and you cash your over 9 relatively easily, right?
Yeah, it seems like it. I don't know. I didn't see anything this morning coming out. Anybody sitting particularly. So I don't know exactly why this line's the way it is.
Yeah, why? Or it's more curious to me that the movement, not where the line is, but that the movement that someone bet it under. Why?
Why?
Yeah.
Gosh, I don't know. I mean, I would say those big hangovers after big scoring games, but the Yankees have been doing that all season. So I don't know.
All right. Well, I'm definitely on the Yankees team total over 5 minus 125. That is lined at Heritage right now. That's definitely a play. And you know what? There can be more than one low-hanging fruit of the day, and that's got to be a low-hanging fruit. If Chavez holds the Yankees to 4 or less, kudos to him. Congratulations, and we're moving on. But I'm going to make the Yankees over 5 minus 125 a low-hanging fruit of the day. That's just kind of a no-brainer. Low-hanging fruit of the day play.
So say that again.
Yankees team total over 5 minus 125. That is at Heritage right now.
Thank you.
And then the other game, I'm going to get to a bunch of comments. A bunch of good comments are coming. But Nelly Carr, I just looked up. Nelly Cover says, love when Pete reads the Asian dude's comments. Yes, that is the Asian dude. He's like Bob Dylan, and I'm like someone on The Voice. I have just a great voice, but he is the real genius behind all of it. Wang Zhou, he's the one who writes all of it. He writes all the words, and he is the real genius. I'm just reading it. My reading it is a talent, but he is the real genius. Wang Zhou, we love you, Wang Zhou. Thank you for all your comments, and hopefully we will be setting some of your comments and words to music in the future, maybe even as a theme show of this, the theme song of this show. All right, I'm talking a little bit fast. I'm very excited because I'm happy about all the possible betting value situations that I'm seeing today. The next one, of course, is Cleveland-Baltimore. Once again, feels like Cleveland is the right side. They're going up against Wade Miley. And as we know, I've been fading Wade Miley most of the time this year, sometimes cashing, sometimes not, sometimes getting a little bit unlucky with Wade Miley's starts. But feels here like Cleveland wants it. Clevenger is a guy who can get hit, also can have a good outing. It would not be surprising. I took a shot with the over, even though it was 10.5 on the overnight line. And once again, just feels like, Cleveland -1, probably a good play with Miley against Clevenger. Feels like Cleveland just has the bullpen edge, the lineup edge. They're going up against a bad starting pitcher, and not a high line here. So I'll make it a pick. What the hell? Screw it. I'll make it a pick. I'm going to take Cleveland -1. I'm going to make it as a pick. Actually, the Chris books have -116 for the money line, and the run line part, I'm going to look at Pinnacle +131. So Cleveland -1 plus money. Clevenger a little bit vulnerable, but not as vulnerable as Miley. And then the rest of the way, you got, once again, the edge on Cleveland that I think you've had all series long. So Cleveland -1. That's another pick. And is that low-hanging fruit? I don't know. Maybe I'll hold off on that one. You want to really make the low-hanging fruit. Yeah. All right, I'll hold it. Because they could win.
Yesterday they worked out. Today it's a pick.
Right. Today it's just a pick. Okay, let me see. Other games, another one. A lot of people, I've just been glancing quickly at the comments here.
Which one?
I glanced quickly at the comments, and I see Wang Zhou with yet another brilliant comment. Wang Zhou says, here, I'm going to read it. I'm going to read this as well as I can. Here's from Wang Zhou, comment from Wang Zhou. I am pick Mets, in all caps. I am pick Mets tonight. Fuck Ryu. Wang Zhou, a real genius when it comes to internet sports betting, internet commenting. I am pick Mets tonight in all caps.
Another good one.
Fuck Ryu.
Philly is trash. I cannot believe that I am trust them yesterday.
Oh yes. Wait, Wang Zhou was on Philly yesterday?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Wang Zhou. Philly is trash. I cannot believe you trust them yesterday. Philly is a team that, listen, I've gotten burned by them. I took, Chris Sale is a massive favorite, but I think now they're like 1-14 out of their last 15 games or something.
Oh God, I don't know.
It's horrific.
Ever since that one series where they went to Miami, right?
Yes. and listen, Philly is trash, and that's again. Listen, you know what? I haven't checked the lineups, but I got to do it. I'm going to take St. Louis -1 as a play today. It's just that with Martinez against Nola and then all the other edges that I think St. Louis has, I'm going to take St. Louis -1 as yet another pick. So we will go to Bet Online and sportsbetting.ag for the money line part of that, -132. And the run line part of that will be, let me see, the run line part of that will be +125 at the Chris books and the Greek. And Intertops, a few other places. +125 on the run line, -132 on the money line. So that's a St. Louis -1 line of just a little bit worse than even money. So that's another pick. St. Louis against Philly. Again, we don't know exactly who's going to be in the lineup and out of the lineup for these two teams, especially on getaway day on the road. Road teams can rest some of their big bets. So might not be a surprise if someone's out for St. Louis, and if that does happen, we'll see that line crash down to +110. But I'm going to make it a pick. Mostly because Philly is trash, as Wang Zhou so eloquently put it. Yeah,
right. The truth hurts.
So there's another one. All right, a lot of questions, a lot of comments, Ernest Upman says, "Fuck Philly." Wow, a lot of great comments. I wish once again. All right, let's go to another game that a lot of people have been discussing, and that is the Cubs against Miami and Arrieta against Locke. Now, when this line opened, it was Miami at +134. I saw it at Heritage, and I instantly jumped on Miami there just because, the Cubs are just clearly overvalued, right? Clearly over, especially on the road.
Still continuing.
They're like -28% on the road or something like that, just something ridiculous. So I jumped on on Miami at +134. It took a big move down. I think I'm going to take it back, though, for a couple reasons. First of all, I think Arrieta is not as bad as he's been. He's been struggling this year, but he's not as bad as he's been showing. And then you have Locke, who is a lefty who has been okay this year, but is very vulnerable. The Cubs crush lefties, and I think this might be actually a spot to take the Cubs.
Has Locke won a game this season yet?
He's pitched okay. Everyone knows what the deal is with him. His upside is very, very limited. He has gotten a bunch of starts where he's gotten some strikeouts. It's been okay, but again, I think Arrieta is a little bit undervalued right now. The Cubs crush lefties, and I'm going to take back my bet on Miami. I'll get a nice little hedge there to lock in some profit. I haven't decided whether I'm going to take the Cubs as a position yet because, again, they are, no matter who's starting and no matter who they're up against, they're an overvalued team, and they're not achieving. You know what I mean? But I don't think it's a spot to take Miami here for sure. Arrieta's a little bit.
Blake Kersey trying to pass Jimmy the bag on our contest.
Yeah, very nice. Well. Very nice.
Say, I was looking today. We had 5 people sign up yesterday afternoon. You can still go and sign up.
Yes.
It's still plenty of time to make your picks. So check out sbrcontests.com. And it's the June bet points contest. And also sign up for July while you're there, if you can. Might be too early, but keep an eye on it.
Sorry, I just read a concerning comment. Here's a guy from Achilles, 3168. Something about this comment really jumped out at me. LOL. Now, Pistol Pete, from one Pete to another, because you took St. Louis tonight, Philly is going to burn you again. LOL, don't do it.
And I saw that too. I didn't quite understand what he meant.
What he's saying is that he's suggesting that it's not a great spot to take Philly and to take St. Louis, and then I might get burned once again fading them. That's understandable because a lot of times getaway day can be a little bit weird for road teams, especially,
I'll tell you, I took the Phillies in our contest this morning.
Really?
Already, yeah.
Why?
Plus 121.
Tell us why.
Because I'm in 280th place and I don't give a shit.
Right.
No, I don't know. I've been finding success in specific. I mean, not in the last 14 games, I suppose, but with them and the Diamondbacks recently, I'm doing very well betting on their games, not necessarily on them.
Right. Yeah, it is Seth Berry says tons of value on St. Louis today. And Nathan Wilson says St. Louis versus Philly over 8.5, which I also bet. I also took over 8.5 on the overnight line. I do think that's hanging a little bit low. Martinez could get hit. You know, the guy who said I might be taking I might be making a bad play here with St. Louis in an early game, getaway day on the road as a favorite. That is not a spot you want to be regularly on, but I gave it already. I'll stick with it. Again, a play where you're feeling a little bit questionable about it, but you're fading a team like Philly, clearly a terrible team that's overvalued anyway, is an okay position to do that in. But yes, it might be a trappy game, just like Washington as a road favorite in an early game was yesterday. We saw similar situation with Washington yesterday, exact same kind of line, exact same kind of pitching matchup. You had Scherzer is obviously awesome against Straley, who's not as awesome, but can be good. Same thing here. You have Martinez, who's clearly a better pitcher overall than Nola. Nola does have some upside, though, so it's very similar to the Washington game yesterday. So
God, that was a heartbreaker.
Yeah.
I put that game on to watch, and that was tough to see him give up that no-hitter and then lose the boot.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna stick with it, but it is a tough one. A lot of people talking about this though. Hako Schofield says, take team that plays Philly, you will win most times. Yes. Then also Kobe Aaron Valentine says Martinez owns Philly, where Waka has pitched poorly against the Phillies. Yeah, I mean Martinez is Waka's not a good pitcher in general right now, and Martinez is.
Yes, okay, yeah. Right now, sure, I'll agree with that.
Tough one. Okay.
There's some. We're missing some Guangzhou gems here.
Really?
Sorry to interrupt you again.
Okay.
Cubs loaded, but just cannot run score. How they wore one last year, unbelievable.
Yes, I'll read that one as well from Wang Zhou. Cubs loaded, but just cannot run score. How they were one last year, unbelievable. Yes. How they were one last year. Unbelievable, right?
I don't know how they were one last year either at this point, the way they're playing.
I agree with you, Wang Zhou. I agree with you. All right, let's see. Okay, so let me get back to the picks here.
Holy hell, Waka has an 8 ERA on the road. Ugh.
Yeah, I mean, Waka pitched yesterday and or 2 days ago, whatever. And all right, look, I'm going to stick with my pick on St. Louis. And I'm also going to throw on the White Sox -1 again. This is, again, another tough one. Taking road favorites on getaway day can be tricky, but again, the White Sox crush lefties. Turley's vulnerable. Quintana, has some back class that I guess I'm factoring in there, but he's been struggling. I'll take the White Sox as well on the -1 line. The money line part of that will be -110 at a bunch of places, and the run line part of that will be +144 at Pinnacle. So that's some small plus money there on the White Sox -1. So far I've given what? St. Louis -1, the White Sox -1, Yankees team total over 5 as the low-hanging fruit of the day, and I've also given Cleveland -1, and I might be giving a bunch more picks as we analyze the rest of these games. Again, things I'm thinking about are the Toronto-Texas game overs, with team totals, the full game, the first 5, and all of that. Obviously, have to once again be thinking about Houston. Second half, full game, and all that. Paulino against Hahn is a pitching matchup that's kind of a wash. They're kind of similar. And Houston I had Houston on the second half yesterday. I didn't give it as a pick, but I bet it, and that one cashed. And excuse me. Also, maybe thinking about the Cubs -1. That's also something I'm leaning towards, and leaning towards taking some overs in Cleveland, Baltimore, and thinking about also throwing on the Yankees. Although, I'm not going to do that because Severino can get hit. I'm also thinking about throwing
absolutely.
Yeah, I'm also thinking about throwing the over 9 in the Angels-Yankees game, and so that's what I'm thinking about. Those are the picks that I've given so far. Let's get some comments.
By the way, guys, I want to give a shout out to our roundtable guys. We had all of our baseball picks yesterday. We had a big man came close to his Mexico soccer pick, but we went across the board in baseball.
Really? Very nice.
It was very
nice. It does happen sometimes. Yes, it absolutely does happen. All right, let me.
There's some good comments here today.
Toy Reviews 51 says, what's your favorite team total, Pistol? I gave it. It's a low-hanging fruit play. I gave the Yankees team total over 5 minus 125, which is a line at Pinnacle. Heritage, a line at Heritage. Pinnacle has 5.5 minus 112, but Heritage and some other books that I saw do have 5, and I'm going to give the Heritage line Yankees team total over 5 minus 125 as a team total over. Mike Heap, the old guy Mike Heap, who was slamming me yesterday, he likes White Sox run line, so he and I are in agreement on that one. Hopefully we both cash. Mike Heap, he also gave a Houston yesterday, which was a no-brainer. Great call on Houston. Let's see other questions. Conrado Mendoza, I like White Sox today too. Go for it. Yes. Let's see. Primo Wilson says he took White Sox. Everyone's on the White Sox. Nick Ross, did you do White Sox yet? I'm big on them today. Okay. I'm on the White Sox as well. Hopefully we all cash. Hako Schofield says, Washington fucked me yesterday. That hurt. Yeah, I'm telling you, you should check lineups for every game, but especially in day games. Yeah. Especially day games on like getaway day, the last game of the series. And if you took Washington anyway, despite knowing that those guys were out, that's fine. If you didn't know those guys were out, that's something you really got to do with day games on getaway day. All right. Other questions. Kobe Aaron Valentine with a nice comment here. I'd rather take a shit on Philly than take them to win. Okay. Yes, I understand.
Well, everybody else has been taking a shit on Philly, so why not you?
I understand the sentiment. All right. Other comment. Rich Banks
is not on the White Sox.
What?
Rich Banks is not on the White Sox.
No. Rich Banks says he's 36 and 27 plus 6.5 units in the contest. Very nice, Rich Banks.
That is good.
Leroy Flood asks, Pete, how about Pirates and Arizona on the money line today? I do like Arizona. I did take them. Godley is, it's always with a grain of salt that you take these Colorado games because you don't know how Godley's going to react today in Coors. But he's definitely been good recently, and Senzatella has definitely been coming crashing back down to earth. So I did actually bet Arizona small on the opener when it came out. I just bet it small, not because I don't like it that much, but just because in a game like this, in a series like this, everything's always with a grain of salt, right? You saw what happened yesterday. Hoffman got lit up. Taijuan Walker didn't. I thought Taijuan Walker was going to get lit up. And I did actually have Arizona. I had Colorado yesterday, but I also had the Arizona on the second half. I would lean Arizona today, and I did bet them a little bit. Pittsburgh, that's a tricky one. As anyone who watches our series previews knows that I was all over Pittsburgh on this series. They did win 2 out of the first 3 games. This matchup is a little bit different because Nova and Anderson, obviously 2 strong pitchers. Anderson's been better recently, although Anderson, the beginning of the year, was definitely shaky. So this game is a pass for me as far as a side is concerned, slight lean towards Milwaukee and a slight lean towards the under. Although, once again, I will have to call the Miller Park hotline before I decide on that one. Miller Park hotline. You have reached the Miller Park hotline. The roof is expected to be closed for tonight's game against Philadelphia.
We should play those in the morning.
Yeah. Oh, well. But they're not out yet. They announce it closer to game time. Yeah. That's why I can't call it right now. If you call it right now, you'll get the one from yesterday. But love the Miller Park hotline, and I'm going to have to call it in order to make a final decision on the total on that one.
Why is it just them? Other ones I suspect would have the same.
Well, most of them. I don't mean to. I love the Miller Park hotline, but most of the others use Twitter, which is a little bit, more in tune with the times, right?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, well, okay,
like
100%,
Miami.
yes,
Yeah.
but Miami
uses Marlins Park uses Twitter, and that's great. That's very reliable. Chase Field uses just their website. But yeah, the Miller Park hotline. I call it every home game. Thanks for doing that, Miller, for Milwaukee Brewers. All right.
You should tweet at them and let them know.
Okay, sure. Yes, I will. Sure. I will. Absolutely. All right. Austin Geist says, I live in Texas. Over conditions good for Rangers game today. Yes, I've already bet that one on the overnight. I got 10. I got a good number, and I'm probably going to give that one before this show is over. Hako Schofield says Cubs overrated. That's an understatement of the day. Absolutely. Thomas Gerhardt says, tailed Jimmy last night and lost. All right, it happens. Marathon, not a sprint. Nelly Cover says Cubs Miami over. That's interesting. Jim Bean says Cubs my low-hanging fruit. A lot of people like in Miami. I can understand why. Lock is shit. Yes. Cal 707 Bear though says Cubs can't put them big runs up. That is true. There's just something about that team that just underachieves. I don't think their minus 28% or whatever it is ROI on the road is entirely a fluke, right? there's something about them that is just an underachieving team once again.
Yeah, it's, how they were won last year. Goes back to them. Unbelievable.
Came across, yes, another comment from Wang Zhou. Waka is trash, but Phi team is trash. Trash another level. Yes. As Wang Zhou says, Philly is not just trash; they are trash another level.
Have to turn his comments into like haikus or something.
Yeah, they might actually already be haikus. I don't know, but all right. Let me see other comments. Let's see. I'm looking for comments here. Lou Skunt says, Pete, are you fading Kane today? Yes, I do want to fade Kane today. I also want to fade Garcia. My lean on that one would be to the over.
You're breaking my heart. Sorry.
I don't want to take – there's no way I can take it, especially with Atlanta's bullpen situation for this game. There's just no way I can really take Atlanta at this big of a favorite line. If they were like -110, I'd probably take them on the -1 line. But up in the -140s, I'm not going to take Atlanta. I do want to fade Kane, though, so I'm leaning towards the over, and I'm leaning towards the Atlanta team total over, but more so, I guess, just towards the over. Garcia's definitely gotten hit. San Francisco, I believe they're a little bit less crappy against lefties. So, yeah, I would be leaning towards the over. I'll revisit that one in a second. That might wind up being a pick as well. All right. Kobe Aaron Valentine announcing a 5-team parlay taking St. Louis, White Sox, Toronto, Colorado, and the Cubs. That's not bad. I'm on a bunch of those. I would lean Arizona instead of Colorado, but that's a lukewarm lean. I would definitely be leaning towards Toronto, although that's also a lukewarm lean. I prefer the over in that game. And St. Louis, White Sox, and the Cubs, I would agree with. So Kobe Aaron Valentine, good luck with that parlay. Hope you cash it. I would agree with much of that. Let me see. Other comments. Let's see. Let me go back up. Mike Heap says, oh, I got a positive comment from Mike Heap. Look at that. Nice call on Carrasco, Pete. Hope you like Astros run line too. Yes, pretty much the Astros on the run line every road game is until further notice. Yeah, probably going to be a good bet. I mean, if they can go into Oakland and get those kinds of road wins, they can do it. And today, once again, have to be thinking that Oakland second half. Although Houston second half. Although the market is adjusting. I got Houston on the second half yesterday. I got -130. Today I saw -145. So that's a pretty big, second half adjustment there. Although once again, you can just take them on the full game, -1, -1.5, whatever, and you might get yet another easy casher. All right, let's see. Nelly covers. Love when Pete reads the Asian dude's comments. Yes, definitely. Kennedy's been good. Yes, I took a loss on the Boston team total over yesterday, although it was close, and I did get a winner with the full game over at 9.5. But I was expecting Kennedy to be the one who struggled. It was not Kennedy who struggled. That was a little surprising. A little bit surprising. Yes, absolutely. Okay, a lot of great comments. I can't read them all, but there's a lot of great comments here. Hako Schofield says Astros always low hanging fruit. Yeah, that might be the case, at least until further notice. At some point, you got to figure they're gonna regress and they're probably, I'm guessing, and this is a very, very, very lukewarm guess, but I'm guessing that one of the months in the upcoming season they're gonna have a negative ROI. Astros. One of the months, whether it's July, August, or September. I'm guessing that one of those months they'll have a negative ROI. I might be wrong on that one. Interesting. But it's just the way baseball goes. No matter how great you are, at some point you have a negative ROI month. It's very hard to have a positive ROI every single month. But yes, until further notice. Blake Kersey saying, hey, Pete, if you do a video for UFC with Andreas, can you do Bellator too? I would love to. If Andreas wants to do it, if the marketing people want to schedule it in, I'm all over it. I love handicapping MMA. I find there can be very good value with MMA, especially with totals. Hako Schofield saying, great show once again. All right. Thank you so much, Hako Schofield. Okay. Taylor H, keep kicking ass. Peter Loshak. Taylor H, thanks so much. Peter Loshak, I like that. Thanks so much. All right. Okay, now I was just reading comments. All right, okay. What I'm going to do this weekend? I have to review the picks here and turn some of my leans into picks. All right, St. Louis -1 is a pick. Although if you look at the early part of this video, all the reasons for why it's a little bit of an iffy pick are definitely accurate, similar to the Washington game from yesterday. But I am going to stick with it as a pick again because betting betting against Miami is a little bit of a different proposition than betting against Philly. a lot of comments here saying like, yeah, it's very different. Philly is just pretty much ass anytime you bet against them. And I agree with that. I basically agree with the guy who said that he would rather take a shit on Philly than bet on them to win. That pretty much my sentiments exactly. So I will stick with my St. Louis pick -1. Seems like a lot of people are agreeing with that. Wow. The total on that one is getting bet lower, so that's certainly an interesting development there. Let me quickly check what the team total over is at Pinnacle for St. Louis. I'm guessing 4.5, and yes, 4.5 -106. So I guess slightly into the over on that one. I bet the over on that one as well, but I'm going to stick with just the -1 line. White Sox also on the -1 line. I'm taking it. I also did bet the over on that one too. And I got a high line. It's 10. It's now 10 or 10.5 hanging there. That would definitely be a lean. I'm not going to make that one a pick, but that's definitely a lean. And I did have Minnesota. I saw it late. I wish I had given it. I had the under in yesterday's game. I didn't take Minnesota as a huge favorite, although to anyone who did, great call, and you cashed. But I saw it late. I was like, these Minnesota games are going over unless you have a good reason to take the under. And yesterday I saw it, and I like the under on yesterday in yesterday's game. So White Sox -1 is a pick. Then moving on, Toronto, Texas. All right, I'm going to give it. I'm going to give the over on this one. The Greek still has 10 -120. That's a pick. Toronto, Texas, over 10 -120. And I'll tell you what else is tempting is the first 5 innings over at 5.5. What should I do?
5.5.
A little bit up there.
It's a little bit high.
A little bit high there. Little bit high there. All right. I'll just leave that one as a lean. Toronto, Texas, first 5 innings over 5.5 -109 is an official lean. But for the full game, I will for the official pick, I will just give the over 10 -120 from the Greek. Then Pitt, Milwaukee, it's going to be a pass for me. I'm going to do my Miller Park hotline call later on and figure it out. Arizona, you know what? Wow. Colorado's now taking some money. It's all the way up to a +110 at BetOnline and SportsBetting.ag and +108 at Pinnacle. That would be a lean. Arizona would be a lean, but I'm going to hold off on that one. Houston, I don't know. I guess the second half, even at -145, would be a lean, but I'm going to hold off on that one. It is, after all, getaway day. Oakland is, after all, a major league team.
Technically.
Yeah. So no, I mean they're pretty good at home. So I'm going to hold off on that one. Then we have the Angels and the Yankees. I've given the Yankees -5 as the Yankees -5 as the low-hanging fruit of the day. I have to make a decision on the full game total, and you know what? I'll take it. Full game over 9 -103 at Pinnacle. I'm going to throw that one on there. Hopefully Chavez doesn't come in and have a good start. He is capable of it, but he just tends to get hit on the road. And if he doesn't get hit, Severino, is lights out 2/3 of the time, but a third of the time he gives up something here and there.
Yeah, he's
Also, both bullpens are good, so there's a lot of reasons. But I'll take it. I'll take the over 9. The more I talk about it,
you said that out loud, and maybe
yeah. All right, I'll take it. I'll take it anyway. Over 9 -103 in the Angels-Yankees game. Then Cleveland-Baltimore. I gave Cleveland -1 already. I bet the over at 10.5 on the overnight line. And let me think about what I want to do here. I could take the Cleveland team total over just to hit Miley, damn it. And you know what? I will give that one. Over 5.5 -124 at Pinnacle. I think they've got the lineup to hit Miley. I'm not a big believer in Miley right now, and I will take that one. Cleveland team total over 5.5 -124. Let me just quickly check Heritage to see if there's a better line there. Yes, 5.5 -115. I'll take that one instead. Cleveland team total over 5.5 -115 at Heritage. Line shopping, people. Anyone who disparages line shopping is just flat out wrong. Take the best line you can get, right?
Yeah.
Why would you not?
I don't know.
Yeah. Sometimes in the show, people are like, Loshak, you always take the best line that's available. I'm like, yes, that's like
what kind of dumb shit is that?
Yeah, exactly. As if I'm like cheating,
It's like you go out of your way to the gas station.
Yeah, exactly.
The gas is 2 cents more expensive.
Exactly. All right, so Cleveland team total over 5.5 -115. Hopefully, I won't get burned by Miley having a good game, but I will take that one. And also, I got to just say that the full game over on that one, 10.5, is definitely a lean. And maybe I should wind up giving that one. The Cubs and Miami game, an interesting game. Cubs -1, very tempting. Cubs definitely hit lefties. And you know what is even more tempting is Cubs on the first 5, -125 at the bookmaker and the Chris books. What about that?
I don't know.
I'll take it. Cubs, first 5 innings. I don't usually do first 5 innings stuff, although the Cubs do have a good bullpen. I'll take the Cubs first 5 innings -125. And you know what else I'll do? I'll also take the Cubs -1. I think
Cubs -1.
Yeah, so I'm going on them 2 ways. I'm a believer now. The Cubs, they are traveling from home, which is, now, you know what? I'll just stick with the first 5 innings. I'll just stick with the first 5 innings.
Because
Miami has a lineup. They can take a game late easily. So I just want to isolate Arrieta against Locke. So, all right, I'll take the Cubs first 5 innings, money line -125. And then the other game is San Francisco and Atlanta. I would like to fade Kane here one way or another. I could take the over 9. But, these lineups are not the most inspiring to take an over, although these starting pitchers are even less inspiring. Could take the first 5 innings over 5, or could take the Atlanta team total over, which right now would be, where is it? Let's find it. 4.5 -124 at Pinnacle. And at Heritage, it would be, where is it? 4.5 -125. Yeah, all of those are like lukewarm leans. I do want to fade Kane one way or another.
Yeah, definitely. As many ways as you can.
I don't know about it as many ways because Atlanta is a pretty big favorite here. But okay, let me just quickly make a decision here. Atlanta and the San Francisco game. All right, I will.
No, that's not the main.
The Atlanta and the San Francisco game. Let me just think. You know what? I'll hold off on it. The over 9 on that game is definitely a lean. But I will hold off on that one just because, the lineups are chintzy. But, I'll definitely, I'll pass on it. I'll pass on it for an official pick.
That's good. Have a little restraint.
All right. So
if only just a little.
Yes. Just to recap, St. Louis -1 a pick, White Sox -1 a pick, Toronto and Texas, full game over is a pick. Yankees, team total over 5 is the low-hanging fruit of the day, and the full game over 9 is a pick. Cleveland -1 is a pick, and the Cleveland team total over is a pick. And the the Cubs first 5 innings at -125 is a pick. And then there's a bunch of other leans that I have already identified. All right, good show. Great comments. And wow, everyone. Apparently, someone walked by. And
Carla keeps walking by.
Hako Schofield says, "I would fuck the maid." Okay, all right, Hako Schofield. Lou Skunt says they hide the office girls. Hako Schofield says that chick was nice that walked by. I don't know which chick that was, but okay.
Everyone, guys, thank you for watching. No, you can keep going. I don't mind.
I want to try to keep the shows a little bit as short as possible. But yeah, nice office girls walking by and some eye candy for this show, which is another good thing that we do have in this show every morning. All right, everyone, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all the awesome comments, and not just funny comments, but actually also very informative comments at times. The comment that identified the starters sitting out for Washington yesterday was a great comment. All the comments today about the St. Louis and Philly game, great comments. All the comments today about the Cubs and Miami game, great comments. And the questions about Kane and the comments about Houston. So great comments all around. Another great show, and we'll be back tomorrow for the Friday card. See you then.